returns to streams in triumph despite Jankos on Pike. Our heroes Fnatic, Origin and G2 Esports secured yet another Rift Rivals trophy for Europe. I'm QuickShot, joined by Dracos and Frosk. And Dracos, after spitting bars before, EU delivered on all of the flame we were hoping for.
I mean, it was everything that I could possibly hope for. I'll be honest, the MSI victory made it pretty easy to find material, but doubling down never feels bad. We got double the value out of these paper crowns. They're the best thing we've ever decided to make, although I'm kind of over it, so I'm just going to...
That was a real far.
There's a reason I don't play traditional sports, and that's the crown. I'll move that. You could talk about other stuff.
That is as far as Dracos was able to throw it. Frosker, OG Fnatic and G2 showing up and really crushing North America's best.
Yeah, some real talk in a very serious, very high-stakes tournament. The size between EU and NA is the size of the Atlantic Ocean. It was not close. It was not competitive. Our teams were actively running it down and doing it as they waved past NA's dead corpse.
It feels fantastic to be a European fan. And of course, some of you guys were celebrating along with the shoutcasters and the players. So we're going to take a look at some of the reactions that we picked up from social media, from Reddit and from Twitter. And I love the fact that Finley's jumped in, their former manager for Fnatic, saying, when I watch Rift Rivals, they're 10K up and they are already 0-3. So obviously on day one of group stage, Dracos, it was pretty good.
I mean, to be fair, I think Mark Z said it best. Hey, after day one, Rift Rivals, great tournament. We'll see how it goes next year. And then, of course, there were days 2 and 3. Well, a little bit brutal. My personal favorite is Flem's pointing out G2 keeping the tradition going with them randomly inting one game away on full comfort at Rift Rivals. It's so true. Literally none of the games matter but the best of 5, and G2 find a way to lose in the only game that matters.
To be fair, G2 are so good that they could int that best of 5 and still win the tournament. So...
And of course,
Yes.
Fnatic and Origin still showing up. Mithy, of course, BetterBot wins. His interview made it into that pre-game video. I thought it was fantastic watching him not only smash TSM, but take down Sven. They had over, 350 professional games together as a duo bot lane. And after all of Mithy's performances last year, or lacking thereof, he shows up when he comes up against...
It's just so funny, because Sven, I don't think he ever expected to say the phrase, I really wish NA Mithy was here. But that's probably how I felt after that one.
Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to G2 Fnatic as well as OG. If you guys want to hear and see a little bit more of the banter-filled social media posts, be sure to check out our new Twitter account over at LEC.
Wait, Trevor, what is it?
At LEC.
Okay, one more time.
There's no official in there? You just have LEC?
Yeah, because it's nice. We got in there. But listen, seeing as though we did celebrate, thank you, Dracos and Frosk, in honor of Europe's glorious victory,
what are you doing?
It is time for a special edition of Quick Stats. Oh, thank you so much, Trevor. He's such a good host. My name's QuickShot. I'm here to talk to you about some quick stats because, as many of you know, they are, in fact, my passion. I'm going to give you a recap of the EU NA Rift Rivals by the numbers, the ones that truly matter. Let's start at high level, ones that Dracos and Frosk could even understand. Europe won 9 games, while North America won 4. But if we take a look at the actual player breakdown, nationality by nationality, I want to see if it paints a slightly different picture. Of the 33 players that competed, 22 of which originated from Europe, 9 NA, 2 from Korea. So what happens when we look at the win rate by player nationality? And what you can actually see is the European win rate decreases. That's not important. What is important, though, is North America gets a little better. And what I really want to draw your attention to is just how much better the Korean win rate is. So while Europe is still looking pretty good in comparison to NA, you're starting to see a trend here. If you're not convinced, I want to take a look at the most important metric in competitive games, KDA. Europe managed 4.3 KDA, towering above the 2.2 of North America. But if you look at the KDA by player nationality, Korean players stand head and shoulders above the rest. So who was the best region at Europe versus North America? This statistician would like to prove that EU is better than NA. But as was the case from 2013 until Worlds 2017, we both suck in comparison to Korea. So as much as it does pain me to say this, it is very evident and crystal clear to a statistician such as myself that the true winner of the Europe versus North America Rift Rivals is Korea. Now, it was also bittersweet because there was a cause that was close to my heart that some of you may remember from previous episodes of Quick Stats, and it's about the needless murder of dragons. I'm happy to report that the Dragon activism scene has picked up steam and momentum, and at Rift Rivals, 0 Elder Dragons were killed. Thank you, Dragon activists. But it cannot be held true for the lesser dragons. The Infernal, the Cloud, the Mountain, the Ocean, they needlessly died. They were not so lucky. They are still being hunted for their buffs. And so viewers, pro players, teams, shoutcasters, I call to you, stand up in the dragon's time of need to save these majestic beasts. They do not deserve to be murdered. Now, QuickShot is done here. Back to you, Trevor.
Fascinating.
I hate you so much.
Man, QuickShot and stats, like it's undeniable. Korea won the EU NA Rift Rivals.
They were also carried by TL, weren't they?
That doesn't matter.
Don't indulge him. You're ruining esports.
Froskuren is on board. She has been enlightened by my statistic point of view. And if, in case you were a North American fan that is now shifting sides to Mighty EU based on the stats, here's a standings update for you. G2 and Fnatic are still the top dogs here in Europe. You can see where everyone is standing. But I want to ask my two analysts today about two specific teams. Two teams that are in the fight for playoffs. And I want to ask you to give them a report card. You can see Schalke and Vitality are highlighted. I want to start with Vitality. And Dracos, I want you to talk to me a little bit about what are the key factors for Vitality and if you're going to give them a pass or a fail in terms of lane phase, mentality, and finally, Cabochard.
I don't know how Cabochard made it on the list, but in 2019, it does make a lot of sense. All right, so overall, we'll start with Cabochard. He remains a shining light. He's a fantastic top laner. Of course, they pass in the Cabochard category. Now, lane phase is a little bit of a different story because while, you know, Jizuke looks pretty good most of the time recently, Cabochard always looks really good. Bot lane.
Yep.
It's rough. Now, the good news is week 3, they popped off. They absolutely popped off. They showed up, they smashed, they were exactly where they needed to be. But with 2 games, it's really hard for me to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to give them a big fat like,
Froskuren, are you really going to let this slide? Jack Troll and Attila.
As Jack Troll said, you forgot about my Tom Kent. And that's really what did it for me. Now, Attila did clean it up on the Sivir. I also believe he took home player of the game for that performance there. But it's, you know, what, 2 games out of the 6 that they've played. And so the consistency is the issue. I think when we look at lane phase, mental fortitude, and Cabochard, the reason why we pick these categories is that if Vitality can get passes in every single one of these categories, that's when Vitality fans feel like their team is finally ready for playoffs. And the fact that they're not passing in all those categories is why they are in the standings where they are.
We're going to have to see what they do against Fnatic a little later today. And Froskuren, I'm going to throw Schalke your way. And the categories I want you to give me a pass or fail on is mid lane, team fighting, and macro.
You sure Cabochard doesn't have a spot on this one?
No, unfortunately, Cabo isn't on this one. So I'm going to currently fail Abadage in the mid lane right now.
Wait, what? He had the Akali game. You can't just
had the one Akali game.
It was a really good game.
So here's the thing. I was so on board for Abadage. I was like his biggest fan watching him play Lissandra in Spring. I was like, this guy's a genius. He's actually great at team fighting. The way that he zones and creates space for upset is amazing. I was so excited. And then we started seeing him not quite connect with the opponent champion, but definitely connecting with the opponent turrets. And he had one of the most highest isolated deaths of any mid laner. He was just falling over. It didn't look like he was clean comfortable. Since he's now been paired up with Trick, you're starting to see Abadage find that confidence. And so I'm like, okay, I'm ready to try to give you a pass, but I need more of those Akali games before I'm like, yes, Schalke finally have a strong mid laner that can compete in Europe. Team fighting, they pass. They are great. They still have Upset. They still have Odo. They've got Ignar. They have Trick. I think if you put Trick on something like a Sejuani versus an Elise, their team fighting gets even better because Trick can hard smash an early game on Elise, but then Elise kind of falls off in team fight. She's just throwing cocoons.
And what about macro and their late game or their mid to late game decision making? Because for me, that's a big fat fail.
I'm gonna give them an incomplete. I think.
Have you ever flipped a coin? Have you ever looked at 50% just down the line? I agree. I think it's tough to give them 100% team fighting. You're right. They're so good, but macro decisions, we see great games. We see brilliant games where they're like early game monsters and Ignar and Upset are destroying everyone, and then you see games where they're just running around like chickens with their heads.
I think the individual decision making is like the thing here because Trick's pathing can look amazing. Like maybe Odo gets in a crazy flank off, but then you have like Upset in lane. And again, Upset, phenomenal player, but he's playing against Pyke. He knows that Pyke's going to be in the bush. He's like, I should probably face check this and just dies. And you can see on his face, his player cam, he's like, that wasn't great there.
So what I really like is the fact that these are the 3 categories for each of the respective teams that we're looking for passes if these teams are going to consistently win and make it into playoffs. Another team that has to step up over the next weeks is going to be Misfits. Leader is still going to be in the mid lane today, and Maxlaw will be playing in place of Kirei. Dracos, what do you make of this? Because I thought the matchup of Maxlaw and Leader was going to be anti-synergy, personally.
I mean, I'm really confused as to what Misfits are doing. I'm not entirely sure that they know what they're doing. The only thing I am sure of from this is that they clearly don't know exactly how they want to utilize this team, and Leader has very pretty eyes.
I have a couple of theories. So Leader clearly has, I'm not going to say champion pool issues, but I'm going to say he has...
He's played one Yasuo.
He's got
limited champion pool.
specific champions that he wants. I think he's a resource-heavy mid laner because of that. You know, if someone's a Yasuo Zed player, you probably should gank their lane. And if you're playing him with someone like Kirei, you could say, okay, play the 2 aggressive laners, which I do agree with, but you can maybe make an argument that, okay, resources need to go into Leader, so let's put him with a jungler that will just camp his lane. Like, Maxor's not taking those resources, whereas Kirei's like, I'm not ganking for you, you're ganking for me. Follow me, buddy.
Well, let's see what they can do. This Misfit squad will be taking on G2 Esports a little later today. And tonight, we might get the first look at the reworked Mordekaiser here in Europe, as well as a new addition to Summer's Rift, Kiana, the Empress of Elements.
Thank you very much, QuickShot. Now, to you, Kiana might just seem like one of 144 champions inside the League of Legends universe. But what you might not know is that she hails from deep inside the lush Kamungu jungle from the region of Ishtal. Ishtal was recently rediscovered by the Piltovers Fighters Guild. Explorers Guild, rather. Fighters Guild is probably from a different game. Now, do with that information as you will. Anyways, let's throw up her strengths and weaknesses and talk about why we actually are going to be seeing her in the LEC today. First up, she provides very strong gank assist. When you're close to the river, you can go ahead and pick up that water blade, which gives you very reliable crowd control to team up with your jungler and set up for early game kills. But the biggest benefit that she actually has, that she's a team fight assassin, the only one inside League of Legends. Because of her giant AoE ultimate, when it's used alongside a wall, not only can she solo kill you, but she can also find those big 5v5s and utilize that to great success. Because of that same ultimate, it means her river control is also fantastic. You don't ever want to start a Baron or a Dragon when Kiana is on the other side of the rift, because that ult is going to destroy you inside the pit. But as for her weaknesses, she struggles when it comes to extended trades. This means against bruiser matchups that like to fight her for a long period of time, she won't succeed because she likes to hit you with very quick burst combos, utilizing the Q and the W to reset that cooldown to give you very quick short trade windows. Now, she also lacks sustain, which means against some lane bullies like a Lissandra in the mid lane perhaps, or rather a Syndra, you can tend to struggle if you are chunked down. Now, she also is very weak in the side lane against bruiser-type champions or anyone that wants to fight you over a long period of time. She also doesn't have a lot of wave clear unless she itemizes into the Tiamat, which we don't see all that often on her. Now, I expect to see her later on today. Let's find out as we go see those games. Back to you, Trevor.
Thank you very much. And of course, Kuro did play Kiana over in the LPL and won with her. Let's see if any of our European talents can show off her elementary abilities later today. Let's take a look at the games that we do have on the docket. Just before that, let's take a look at where some of the matchups are. Origin, XL, Fnatic, Vitality. Dracos, where's your eyes today?
So look, there's a lot of games you can point at. You can point at the Fnatic versus Vitality, Fnatic Fanfare. You can point at G2 versus Misfits. Pretty much every game is interesting. But the one that people are going to count out and the one that I want to advocate for is XL versus OG. OG have beat none of the teams above them, and I'm not convinced that this is
and XL have beat no one.
Exactly, and that's my point, is that this game matters for XL because it could be their first win, because every game could be their first win, dear audience. And OG, I actually think they might start to fall. I haven't been too impressed with what they've shown so far, but it is kind of an easy start
That's
coming
because of
back.
strength of schedule. Origin have faced all of the top teams. The 2 teams that they faced this week are Excel and Rogue.
Yeah, but then they lost to Splice too, the team that they were very freely beating in the previous season. So I'm
Splice
concerned.
is currently sitting in 3rd place from the standings earlier. Let's see if they can hold on to it. Let's see if Origin can take down XL. We're going to take a look at predictions right now. Just a reminder that Skynet has been trying out a new prototype for predictions, and so far it's simply not working. StatsBot is sitting in last place. That makes me exceptionally happy because we sit and work very closely with our stats team. Frosk and I tied at 20 points. Dracos is pure inting.
Well, 15 is pure inting. This is called soft inting, and it's only kind of a reportable
The only
offense.
guy who's actually pure inting is you right now. What is that Misfits pick?
I just have a feeling that G2 are not going to be as practiced, and I think Maxwell's going to surprise today. I know on paper, G2 are the favorites, but I have to trust my guts.
That's where you pick your upset?
That's it. That's why I pick
you're
my
like,
upset.
Vitality versus Fnatic? No, that's not going to be the upset.
no.
Origin
Definitely
versus Excel? Nah, that's not the upset. Best team in the world versus Misfits.
Yes, best team in the world that's losing. G2 are done. I did a lot of stats research for my quick stats segment. I think they're done. I think their reign might be
They lost the
over.
best of 5 Rift Rivals, which,
That's
as we know, is the most
They lost the
prestigious
game.
tournament in the
Fnatic
world.
and OG are stepping up. That's what's going to happen. Well, listen,
Okay.
Splice, they are on a roll so far here in Summoner. They are currently sitting in 3rd place tonight. They will be taking on SK Gaming in our match of the week.
Committing, Splice taking a page from the Fnatic playbook, and Patrick now in trouble. Goodbye to the Draven. Vizichachi with a big off the shutdown onto the Draven. Splice will take down Origin and raise the question, who really is the 3rd best team in Europe?
For the past 2 years, we've made playoffs every single time, but somehow at the beginning of each split, we are not even in playoffs in some tier list, and it's just mind-blowing to me.
They were always the team that made every single playoffs, but they were always the team that weren't able yet to compete with the top of the table.
I think the matchup versus Splice will be even, I would say. I don't think there's like any huge player difference. Obviously, we are like much more motivated since they beat us many times last split, so we want the revenge for sure.
Onto the devoured croucher. Here comes Judge as well. The slicing mouse straight onto the backline already. He's taken down one. It's the shutdown. VODS used by Humanoid. It's going to push well and back into the team. And Splice have found the fight they needed.
SK are a stronger team than they were in spring. I think if CrownShot can match and surpass Cobby, it can be the key to victory for SK Gaming.
I feel like our ceiling is high since most of us are rookies, in LEC.
Upset on Vayne, you have to feel more confident in, versus Crown Shot on Ezreal. He's thrown it! He's hit Abadage! Upset's down! He's caught out! Crown Shot remains untouched. I have to eat humble pie after watching the last 20 minutes of that game.
I believe in great things for this team.
As far as Cobby is concerned, SK should be a guaranteed victory. But if they can't get through crown shots, this could be a victory that could determine World Championship seeding.
Worlds is a really big stake for me. I went there in my first year where I felt like I wasn't that good of a player. I haven't been able to go back there since, so it's 2 years. If you struggle with SK, then what are you going to do against teams like Fnatic and G2? It's like a team we have to beat.
I'm not really afraid of Xerxes. I don't think he's the main win condition for Splice.
I figured him out and he showed in our series against him. I knew where he was every single time.
Organic destruction from Cobby as they take down one, and they're just going to clean them all up. Splice rout SK.
SK are hungrier, and I'm seeing more growth from this team and their players, which is why I think SK is going to take down Splice.
No. I know it. The fans know it. Splice know it. They have beaten SK 5 times out of 6 games. And the one game they lost was in that best-of-5 playoffs where Splice had the lead majority of the game. That's the Urgot Jungle game. This isn't close.
I feel like it's really rude to use stats against the guy who makes quick stats. I feel like that's
Low blow.
PM.
But the thing is, this SK is significantly better than the SK that went 5-1, or 1-5 rather, versus Splice. Crown Shot is significantly better. Sacre's injected some new blood into the team. And I think for me, it's going to be down to Xerxes and Selfmade. If Xerxes is still reading Selfmade, yes, that's problems. But I don't know, I really believe that SK are improving drastically.
That's your X factor right there, is Sacre. What does he change to this formula and these variables to get a different outcome? Because so far we've seen these teams run into each other time and time again. Xerxes got Selfmade's number. He tracks him, they put vision all over his jungle, and he doesn't get to be the monster that we know Selfmade needs to be for SK to win.
But you talk about that X factor, and it can be good and it can be bad, because Vizichachi is one of the most storied top laners in our league. He is so incredibly consistent. So yes, Sacre can be a strong point, but he could also be a big weak point.
Well, I can't wait to see it. That's going to be the second game of the day. Be sure to stay tuned in. At the start of 2019, we welcomed a new generation of European mids. They were following in the footsteps of players like Feathervin, Caps, Perks, Expeke, Froggen, to name just a few. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was to highlight 3 of the new guys playing on the LEC stage. Abadage, Humanoid, as well as Nemesis. Earlier today, Dracos, you jumped on the hype train for Abadage. Why is he one of the rookie class of 2019?
There's going to be a big lot of movement here. Okay, so realistically, looking at Abadage right now, he's popping off. We've seen the Akali game, and you can watch it again, because this is a defining moment for Abadage. When he played Lissandra in spring, it proved he had a brain. He could make smart plays, he could play around the team, he could team fight. Now, when it came time to showing us mechanics, those Yasuos, those other champions, he ran it down. It was a struggle, but now, with this Akali game, my confidence is restored. I think Abadage is back on the map for potential top European mid laner, because now he's shown us not only does he have a brain, he has hands to match, and that's all it takes to be a top European mid.
Yeah, I'm not going to mince words. I had counted Abadage dead and out. I was like, he is not in the race for one of our competitive mid laners, and it feels like mid is just the role that was supposed to be so coveted in Europe, and it felt like everyone had disappeared, that we had 2 mid laners, and then it was just kind of a wash from there. But Abadage, he pulled his Spider-Man, he got back up when he didn't think he was going to do it, and I hope to see him continue to fight hard.
Okay, but now what about the next player on our list, Humanoid? Because you said earlier today that Humanoid was the opposite of Abadage, because Humanoid would try to make the outplays and run it down half the time.
So if Abadage kind of came in with like, and you know, he played a lot of Lissandra, so maybe it's like bias there, but if he was more of the control mage player, if you will, Humanoid felt like the playmaker. He was looking not to win lane, but to beat down his opponent. And unfortunately, that made him a kind of a feast or famine mid laner. Sometimes this guy is in the right place, making the big plays, and sometimes he's not. It's a huge wash about inconsistency for Humanoid. But if Sakura is the X factor for SK, Humanoid can be the X factor for Splice. He can be that defining, unlockable last piece that they need to take them from 4th place to on that podium.
And you can see it here in the highlights. We've had so many fantastic Akali players stepping up recently. The opportunity to prove yourself, to prove that you can be that X factor, is there in the champions that are available right now. So he is going to have that chance to show that he can be everything that Splice needs.
Okay, so the next player I want to talk to you about, Dracos, we've just looked at 2 guys that have played Akali in recent weeks and popped off. We talked about some Yasuo, we talked about some control mages. Nemesis is finally being played around by the Fnatic squad, but he's not playing these types of carries. He's got the Twisted Fate, he pulled out the Vigar over at Rift Rivals. What's your take on Nemesis?
Honestly, I was not a big Nemesis fan when he came into the league. I'll have to be honest there. Frost encouraged me to rewatch a lot of the VODs. He's a very smart individual player, and for the first time ever, I feel like his team knows how to play around him. He feels incorporated the team, and he's looking better every week. And while normally I would say, hey, this is kind of a mark on his record that he's not playing carries, I think he's showing a level of flexibility where he can fit into the role that the team needs. There are so many star names on this team. You don't need to be caps every single game, but it's important that you can be when the moment counts, and I think that that's where Nemesis is at this point.
Nemesis is the 3rd best mid laner right now in the LEC. And I don't even think that's a controversial opinion. I think the name that pops up is someone like Jizuke, but unfortunately Jizuke, with his spring performance and now kind of the struggles that he had in summer, I just don't think he's in form right now. And hopefully today, in our final match, we get a Jizuke in form against a Nemesis in form. But right now, I think Nemesis has it.
And so just to clarify, number 1, Caps, number 2, Nuke Duck.
number 1, Caps, number 2, Perks, number 3, Nuke Duck.
Just for interest's sake, what is the gap between number 3 and number 4? Is it a staggering jump in your mind right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like NAEU Rift Rivals.
Wow, that's a huge jump. Okay, so look, these are the 3 guys that we're the most excited about that are stepping up right now. There's 2 names that didn't make the list. It's Larson and Leader. They do have some talent, but they need to show a whole lot more over on the LEC stage. And I'm going to put you guys on the spot. So we have a little bit of time. I want to know which of our new EU mids is the most likely to become the next superstar.
New as in Leader and Larson, or do I get them all?
You can get Leader and Larson. Let's just take the 5 that we have right now.
Well, my money's on Nemesis.
Nemesis?
Yeah, Nemesis he's surrounded by a good team. He's in the best possible environment to grow as a player. He's got Hillisang.
Humanoid or Abadage?
I'm going Abadage.
I'd go Abadage.
Abadage, interesting. We'll see if it works out. Very excited to see how his game plays out. But we need to turn our attention to game number 1 of the day. And the revamped Rogue is a dark horse of the LEC. They're looking to surprise everyone here in the summer split. Prophet in a 4v1 is still surviving. He goes golden, buys enough time. It's a 4 versus 1. Prophet's not done. Rogue, that was amazing.
How good am I?
At first point, we thought that we just leave Prophet and let him die.
I had to process for a few seconds, wait, did it just happen?
Last split, they were probably the easiest team to beat.
Rogue was terrible last split. Losing to us was actually a disaster for some teams like Misfits.
This is huge for Rogue. They're onto it, Medic. This could be it. First Nexus tower down. Maxwell backups trying to bend, but the Viven just can't do anything, and Rogue take their first win of the LEC.
now they actually look pretty strong. They've brought in some new players that honestly I don't really know exactly what to expect from them.
Vander's looking for the engage, he gets the knockup, that's technically 3, but here comes Larson with the help of Warlight.
I think Rogue is team full of rookies like us last split, and I think they're doing pretty well so far.
What makes us very scary is our unpredicted plays and moves around the map.
Yeah, I think we actually are the dark horse in a way. It's like, I would say we try to play like G2, we are just worse and everything right now.
While you can laugh a little bit at some of the lines that Vander is saying, there is a self-awareness that I do have to respect and call out. You can see the Rogue roster on your screen right now. HeQ is back on the roster. They are still looking to make playoffs. They're still looking to pick up more wins and even be competitive in that light. Dracos, what's your take on HeQ coming back in and Rogue as they've developed of the year?
Trevor, realistically, I don't get to see scrims, so there's always going to be some piece of information that's missing. I will not have a complete picture. But from an outside perspective, this is a bad decision. HeQ has not been a top performer at any point in his career. There were glimmers of hope early on. There was the Ashe games, the Ziggs game. He had a few moments where he shined. But to me, this just feels like, what is this actually going to solve? Realistically, last split, you were losing significantly more. And now you're going to bring in a player from that team back on a stage when this team has been more successful. I really don't understand it.
I think it's slight playstyle differences between HeQ and Woolite. I watched a lot of Woolite and Vander in Ultraliga when I was trying to prep for the new Rogue iteration. Woolite played a lot of Ezreal, and it kind of felt like he was kind of second man or second hand to Vander, and Vander was the big initiator. When you see someone like HeQ, I feel like he's more of a utility response. I expect him to play more long-range ADCs to be that utility rather than kind of a secondary carry than Woolite is. So I think we might see a change up in playstyle.
Okay, now talking about playstyles, we are very heavily Rogue focused because of the substitution and the fact that they're not the favorites in this matchup. It's Schalke that are expected to pick up the win. Froskuren, how do these teams clash head to head and what will be the determining factor on who comes out on top?
So if Trick just doesn't run everyone over in the early game in that jungle, I think that this is going to come down into big lumbering team fights. Both these teams really like to rely on their 5v5 potential. I think Rogue more so, whereas there's definitely much more flexibility in Schalke's play style, so that's why we give them heavy favorites. You know, they can play a 1-4, a 1-3-1, they can play the 5v5, but if it is a close game, everyone gets to that mid-game status, everyone's got 2 items, and then you just have these big team fights clashing into each other over and over again, and Rogue are looking for those 50-50s into a Baron, into an Elder Dragon, and possibly into a win.
Quick hits for me, it's absolutely about comfort. Get HeQ on the Ashe, set him up. A Varus is also a fine option. Do not put him on anything else. Set him up to provide the team extra source of engage and a strong early lane. Follow it up with a strong mid game. Maybe you can get a win, but this is Schalke favored.
Man, it sounds so easy when you put it that way, but you heard Rogue themselves talking about the challenges they have to overcome. The wait is over as the LEC is back for a new week. Let's hit the Rift.
Thank you very much, QuickShot. I am very excited to announce that I'm Medic and this is Endo, and we are here for League of Legends!
Yes, we are. It's been way too long. We had Rift Rivals, sure, that was great fun, but the LEC, after 3 weeks, is back.
The best league in the world, and back taking the stage once more. And what a great game we have to kick us off as well, because Schalke versus Rogue, although some people would have looked at this at the start of the split and said Schalke should quite easily dominate Rogue, it's actually a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, you know, Rogue came in and made a lot of roster moves during the break between spring and summer with Larson and Inspired in the jungle. I was about to say Woolite, but we got HeQ in for this game. We'll see what that change brings to this Rogue team.
That we are going to jump straight on into picks and bans. Of course, we're on 9-13.